So Amazon, lovely Amazon, tricked me into buying a smart home speaker. Let me explain. Hello, welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. So this is the Amazon Echo Studio, which is their take on the smart speaker with 3D audio. Think Apple's HomePod, it's that kind of thing. Now, I bought mine because, I'll be completely honest, they tricked me. Either they tricked me or I'm stupid, it's one of the two, might be both. I had an email from Amazon which basically said, introducing the Echo Studio. I thought, ooh, interesting. I better get that. I'm into my audio stuff, as you've probably seen. I think it's a big part of working from home. So I bought it immediately, partly because of the price as well. It was £180. So I thought, great, I'll be first in the line to get it. I'd never heard of the Echo Studio before, ever. Turns out it was actually launched last year in about November. Yeah, if you look on Amazon's website, the product listing is actually called, I've got it here, Introducing Echo Studio. That's the product name. Now, by the time you watch this, they may have changed it, I don't know, but that tricked me, and that came through as the subject line in the email. Anyway, forget that. I've bought it, I've used it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and actually, I really like it. Now, build-wise, it's really impressive. I've got a few of the other Echoes. I've got the little dots. I know people who have these longer cylindrical standard Echoes, whatever you want to call them. And they're all pretty well built, actually, to be fair. I think for the price, I think you get a lot for your money. The Echo Studio actually takes that up a notch. As soon as you get it out of the box, it feels very Sonos-like. I think if you've ever used Sonos, you'll know that those products feel very, very well made. And the Echo Studio is the same. It feels solidly built. It's covered in very nice fabric. It looks nice. It's great. I mean, it does look suspiciously like a HomePod. There's no getting away from that. The HomePod is a bit smaller. I should say, actually, a bit of a caveat. I haven't ever used a HomePod. I've never even heard a HomePod. I'm waiting to see what they do with the next generation, if it even exists. If it does, great, I'll get one into review. But yeah, you can see what Amazon are doing. They're kind of going for that HomePod look. So some stats, some vitals. It's 8 inches tall, 7 inches diameter, and it's fabric covered, like I mentioned. And yeah, I mean, for a smart speaker, for a home smart speaker, to me, it looks like it should look, if that makes sense. So how does it work? Well, just like the HomePod, it has several speakers within that little casing. It's actually got 5 drivers. There's a 5.25 inch downward firing woofer. There's 3 2-inch mid-range speakers which fire left, right and out of the top. And there's a 1-inch forward-facing tweeter. Now all of this is powered by a 330 watt amp. Finally, there's a bass port at the bottom, which is obviously functional, but also looks pretty cool as well. So what does it sound like? That's the big question. I keep looking over here, by the way, because that's where the Echo Studio is sat. I'm not being rude. But yeah, it sounds pretty good, actually. Again, I would caution anyone going into this who's an audiophile, you're not going to get something that's going to blow you away. However, for a smart home speaker, for the price, 180 UK pounds, it's actually a very confident sounding speaker. And what I loved about it was the fact you could really crank it up and you don't really get any distortion. The issues I've had with Sonos, particularly when you turn on some of their EQ settings and their other clever sound enhancement stuff, it does tend to flap a bit and it's not a very defined sound when it starts to get loud, which is a shame. I do think when you buy a all-in-one system like this, it should be able to cope with pretty much any music at any volume, and whatever they're doing internally with the Echo at Amazon seems to be working because it handles a lot of power. Now I've cranked it up with lots of different types of music, from dance to rock and pop, and it handles them all brilliantly. There's not an ounce of distortion. So if you're going to buy one of these to stick in a room and occasionally have a bit of a party with it, it will actually do you really well. Now the mid and top range frequencies are pretty nice, to be honest. Again, what you'd expect out of something like this. The bit that I'm a little bit disappointed with is the bass. It's a bit undefined. It can be a little bit muddy. It goes pretty deep, you know, particularly when you've got it on the table, you can feel it through the table. But it's not very well defined. It's also not tight enough. You know, you hear on kick drums and certain bass notes, it's just a little bit wobbly. Because I'm into my audio, it annoys me a bit when the speakers don't handle bass very well, but it's not the end of the world. It's actually still, like I say, loud enough. There's enough bass there to be to work. And yeah, it's just, it could do that a little bit better. Even the Sonos Play 1 has a slightly better bottom end than this, and apparently the Play 5, which again I've not used before, that does better than this in terms of the bottom end. Now it also has 3D audio, and it's very hard to explain how this works. I've tested it with a couple of tracks. Part of the issue is that there's not much 3D audio material out there, and if you're only listening to the radio or perhaps your Spotify playlists on here, you're not going to hear much that is actually in proper 3D audio. The best way to explain it is that it feels like you've got more than one speaker sat there, so it does feel like you've got speakers behind you, to the left, to the right, centre, but it's a little bit hit and miss if I'm honest, and unless you're sat there really concentrating on it, you're probably not going to notice it. Where the speaker array in the studio works really well is the fact that it literally fills the room with sound. So again, if we compare this to the Sonos Play 1, which is just a single speaker, although I think there might be two speakers in it, but they're just forward facing as any traditional normal speaker would, you're just getting that sound sent straight at you. You can pair them up in studio pairs with Sonos, which is great. But what if you haven't got the room for that or the budget? You know, ideally you want one speaker that does the whole thing. And this is exactly what the studio does. You can literally, I've tried this, you can place it anywhere in the room and it just fills the room with sound. There's no kind of defined source that the sound is coming from. And again, if you're not bothered about sitting there and listening to your favourite albums in perfect stereo, it doesn't matter. You know, you just want to be working away, or like I say, having friends around when you can, and having music on that fills the room. And it does a brilliant job at that for the price, I think. So I wouldn't buy this thinking that 3D audio is somehow going to be this amazing wow moment that you didn't know you couldn't live without anymore. It's not going to be that at all, but it will fill the room with sound. And in my testing, the studio is this studio rather than the Echo Studio. This studio is a very small room, so it has no trouble filling this, but I've tested it in larger rooms in the house, and it does a brilliant job actually. I was about to say you don't know it's there. Obviously you know it's there, but you can't really pinpoint where the Echo is placed in the room because it does such a good job at filling the room with sound. So 3D audio, kind of forget that. But the way they've designed the speaker array in the Echo Studio itself is actually genuinely beneficial. Now obviously the Echo Studio comes with Alexa built in, and I'm quite a big fan of Alexa. I use it far more than Siri, and it tends to give me the answers I want pretty much straight away. In our household, we use it to set reminders, to ask if certain celebrities are still alive or not. We do all the normal stuff with Alexa, and 9 times out of 10 she's really good. But like any Amazon Echo device, the Alexa experience is the same no matter what you spend. So on the Echo Studio, it'll be exactly the same as whatever you experience on the Echo Dot, for example. Everyone has their own favourite digital assistants, or they don't care about them. Whatever your take on that, Alexa is probably in my opinion, the better one to go for. And because of that, you can pair the Alexa Smarts with a really good sounding speaker. So again, if Alexa is your thing, it just comes as standard. It works really well. I've had no problems with it. The speakers pick you up wherever you are. But again, I've never had an issue with any Echo device when it comes to picking up my voice. Now, at the time of shooting this video, Amazon have released some new Echo products, a new Echo Dot and a new Echo Dot Kids Edition, which comes in lots of funky colours and things for kids. At the moment, there's no word of a new Echo Studio. As I say, this is now coming on for a year old, even though I thought it had just been released. But I don't think it's going to be superseded anytime yet. And even if it is, it's still a good buy. If you bought this now and they brought out a new Echo Studio 2 months later, you probably wouldn't feel that bad about it, because they do have staying power. And in my experience, Echo gear does last the test of time. So what is my verdict with the Echo Studio? I'd buy it. If you have got the money to spend and you're looking for a smart home speaker that is loud, that can play all of your music, whether it be from Amazon Music or Spotify or Apple Music, it really is the best thing to go for at the moment at the price. Again, if you're an audiophile, don't expect miracles, but it does sound really good for the price. And if you want a smart home speaker that will fill the room with sound, includes a really good home assistant built into it, the Echo Studio really does take some beating. And why would you buy it over the HomePod? You might be asking that, bearing in mind I've never even heard a HomePod before. But there's a good reason I haven't heard a HomePod before, which is that I've had no reason to buy one. And I've got a lot of Apple gear, as anyone will tell you. I just have not found the reason to buy it. I don't even think it's worth buying it to review for this channel. simply because it just doesn't feel well supported by Apple. And one of its biggest problems is Siri. I don't hate Siri, but it's not as good as Alexa. There you go. Off it. I didn't even say, hey, Siri then. Anyway, whatever you think of Siri, I personally don't think it's better than Alexa. And also, the HomePod is £20–30 more expensive than the Echo Studio. It just doesn't make sense in my book. So I would definitely recommend the Echo Studio if you want a decent sounding Alexa device that's going to last the test of time and really fill your room with sound. If you're really into your audio, I recommend that you carry on watching for a link to a review I did of the most recent Sony over-the-ear noise cancelling headphones. Just like the Echo Studio, they're a brilliant buy, and actually I can save you a bit of money. So keep watching for that, and in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Catch you next time.